New on Curiosity Stream.
I'm James Burke. I'm going to take you on a journey through time.
James Burke's visionary series returns, reimagined for our time.
Now, this is all uncharted territory.
The Washington Post hails Burke as one of the most intriguing minds in the Western world. The New York Times raves he careens from one great moment in history to another.
Where do we want to go from here?
Experience all new connections.
So what's the next connection?
With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at CuriosityStream.com.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing to keep the Grinch away from the toy drive.
Who's going to deliver the toys to the kids?
What about me, the Grinch?
No.
Yep, even easier than that.
You steal the presents one time.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Capital One NA, member FDIC. Copyright Dr. Seuss Enterprises. Copyright Turner Entertainment Company.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibiers? Happy Monday. It's August 15th. Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I did. Saturday was my Grammy's 88th birthday. She wanted me to say a big thank you to everybody who wished her a happy birthday online. She was blown away at how many of you guys took a moment to say happy birthday to her. So thank you from the both of us. And yesterday, I was back volunteering at the Shoeless Joe Jackson Museum here in Greenville for the first time in many years. Had a blast and can't wait to help grow this museum. If you're local, come see me Sundays 12 to 4, most Sundays. And then if you're coming through, stop by and see me. Super, super fun. Music fact of the day, real quick. Jimi Hendrix was the last performer at Woodstock. The one event, if I could go back to in history where like I didn't have to stop anything bad from happening, would be Woodstock. And by the time he got on stage, which was 8:30 on Monday morning, the crowd had went from 400,000 to about only 30,000 people. He performed his very famous version of the Star Spangled Banner about 90 minutes into his 2-hour set. Some of the big names at the time who said no to performing at Woodstock: Led Zeppelin, The Doors, Bob Dylan, Jethro Tull, Frank Zappa, and the Beatles. All right, so a couple things. I think that this mega series is probably going to be finished around the time we start covering the Wagner trial. That's supposed to be about the 28th or sometime that week. Now, we have heard that jury selection may delay that a bit since they did not move this out of the county, which blows me away. But so anyways, I'm hoping to have it finished by then. But once this trial is over for Lori and Chad, I think I will come back and redo just a few of these episodes, particularly the ones about JJ's murder, Tylee's murder, and Tammy's murder. With Charles's murder, we had the Chandler document dump, which gave us a really good picture of what happened in the months and the weeks and the days and even the hours leading up to his murder. But with the kids and with Tammy, we have what was put in that probable cause affidavit by Lieutenant Ron Ball when they charged Lori and Chad in this case, which they're always going to put the minimum in there. They don't want to give too much away. So eventually, I would like for these episodes regarding the hugest moments in this whole case to be complete. And then probably we'll do a few episodes that are just combining some things that we've learned. So this will be a work in progress for a very long time. But I do feel very strongly that the murders of the kids and Tammy deserve their own full episode as much as we did Charles's. And maybe we learn more about Charles's. You never know. So we are going to back up just a hair. September 16th, Chad and Zulema have a text exchange. And I'm surprised Lori didn't label her dark for texting Chad so much. But Zulema wants Chad to check on her daughter's boyfriend for her. His name is Moses, and Chad said he'll check. So pretty quickly after, he responds, Moses is a 3 light, 65% light. His previous probation was in mid-1800s California. Decent person. He's not part of her life mission, but mom shouldn't say so. I feel she'll soon find out for herself. Zulema says, thank you. I will not say anything. I just want to see who he is and if he's good for her. So now, after that, we're moving into the timeline of when JJ was murdered. And September 19th, Melanie Gibb arrives in Rexburg to visit Lori until the 23rd, and she stays at her townhouse. Her boyfriend, David Warwick, comes in the next day on the 20th, and they were in town to attend an event for what they call the Fern Foundation. And Gibb said that also part of the visit was just to visit Lori. She spent most of her time there with Lori, except for on the 21st when her and David were gone for about 10 hours to attend that event. I've always wondered, why did they murder JJ when David and Gibb were in town? And maybe it was in their minds to establish some sort of an alibi so people could say they had laid eyes on him on the 22nd, but who knows? Gibb said she saw Chad at the townhomes around 2 to 4 times, and he and Lori were affectionate. They were holding hands, hugging, and light kissing. She talked to Lori a lot about her and Chad's relationship, and Lori said they were in love and wanted to be together as soon as possible. At Chad's preliminary hearing, David Warwick said he saw Chad about 3 times over that weekend, but only once at Lori's house on the 22nd. At some point during this visit, Gibb said that Lori told her Tammy had dark spirits working on her, but they were not in her yet. They were all around the house, but Chad told Lori that Tammy woke up to knocking on the door, and Chad said that it was Julie Rose's spirit knocking on the door. They always pull her in when things get really weird. So Lori told Melanie Gibb that Tammy was starting to question if Chad and her were having an affair. And Gibb told Keith Morrison on Dateline that she didn't know if Tammy actually confronted Chad about the affair, but she also said she thinks that Tammy was more plugged in than Lori and Chad gave her credit for, and I completely agree. And I think some of that will come in during trial because we know there was a search warrant for some email accounts to a coworker who is a man, and specifically they mentioned an email maybe the night before Tammy was murdered that talked about the status of her relationship with Chad. We're going to learn a lot in January. So during the visit, as we know, Tylee was already murdered and buried on Chad's property. The only time Lori really mentioned Tylee to Gibb during her visit was to say she was at BYUI or was with her friends. She said during most of their visit, JJ mainly stayed in the family room, but he also played outside with the neighbors' kids. Lori told Gibb she wanted JJ to live with Kay and gave different solutions of him maybe living with family members of Kay's who have kids and love JJ. And then she said she may tell Kay she was sick in order to get Kay to take him. So in May of 2020, Gibb spoke to Nate Eaton at East Idaho News. And about the weekend, she said, Lori told me they did walk around the track together. She said she didn't tell me what they did or didn't do, but I did have an opportunity to walk with them. I was surprised. I'm like, aren't you worried that people are going to see you? She says Tammy doesn't come out a lot or to that side of town a lot, and that Lori and Chad were openly affectionate in public. She said a lot of people that knew Chad did not know what Tammy looked like. And I thought that was kind of odd because they went to church together, I suppose. And I can understand at the preparing of people events, it doesn't seem like Tammy really went to any of those. That was sort of Chad on his own. But they were pretty brazen in being affectionate in Rexburg area, or the area of Rexburg. It's small. You know, I know it's a big college town, but still, you would think they wouldn't be so out there. So speaking about Tylee, Gibb told Nate Eaton that she knew Tylee had gotten her GED. She said when she was 16 or 17, we know Tylee was murdered when she was 16. And Gibb said it could have been plausible that Tylee was going to BYUI, but she said it didn't feel like it. And there were question marks for her. And it didn't feel real or feel like the truth. She said, I didn't know what to say about it. I wouldn't assume she had done something to her, so it was unusual. But you would think if it seems odd, why would you not question it a little bit further and say, you know, what is she taking? What is she going to major in? Is she on campus? Is she in an apartment? Is she staying here? I don't get these people. JJ did not go on the walks with them. He was at home most of the time with Alex watching him, which is scary in itself. Gibb said that JJ was all around them and they talked about him quite a bit. She said when she arrived that Thursday, Lori said that JJ had turned into a zombie the day before and was pointing out behaviors such as sitting still and watching TV, claiming that JJ said he loved Satan and he had an increased vocabulary. And that was the evidence she put forth that JJ was now a zombie. Gibb said she was trying to create uncertainty in me about what I saw. He kind of looked like JJ to me, hyper and angry one minute, kind of chill or crying the next. And then Nate says, did it worry you because Charles was a zombie and look what happens to zombies? And Gibb said, I didn't think she would do that because that's her boy. She said, it's time for JJ, something to the effect of he's in the way of our mission, so we need to send him to Kay's house. We talked about Kay and we talked about some of her family members that could take him. And according to Gibb, she said Lori wasn't sure if Kay would take JJ. We know Kay would have taken JJ. I mean, it would have been easy for Lori to say, Tylee, you stay with your brother in Rexburg. You stay with your grandparents. You stay with your Aunt Summer. Kay, Charles is dead. I can't handle JJ. Here he is. I don't understand why the kids were murdered. I mean, Tylee, if I had to guess, I would say she knew too much about the day Charles was murdered, and we don't know what went down in that house, and we never will. And we don't know what conversations Tylee and Lori may have had after the fact, before or after they moved to Rexburg about that. Maybe that was the reason Tylee was murdered. JJ, it just, you think about even Charles and Tammy, they couldn't get divorced because I believe the life insurance policies would have been out the door. And we know obviously Charles changed the beneficiary, but Tammy was murdered in her overnight and he cashed that out. So I think that is why they didn't ever seek divorce. But here's the thing. If you think about it, Chandler had tucked away Charles's murder as self-defense and were pretty content with that theory. Tammy was buried without an autopsy. It wasn't until the kids were reported missing that Chandler police and Rexburg police started putting two and two together that there's a trail of bodies behind these people. It's unfortunate that it took the kids to be murdered to do that, but had they left the kids in Arizona, maybe they would have never got caught for the other. I don't know. It's just, I think about things like that. My mind's spinning about this case. But Gibb and Warwick were on Dateline in June of 2020. And of course, Keith Morrison in his amazing voiceover, Melanie knew by then that Tylee had been declared zombie. And Gibb said Chad had told her, she wasn't made a zombie just recently. She turned a zombie back when she became a difficult teenager. Lori said JJ became a zombie the day before she arrived. The reason I believe he became a zombie, my own internal thoughts, is that he was going to stop Chad and Lori from being together basically. I think he was in the way, and I think that's why he became a zombie. And Keith asked Gibb what happens to zombies. And Gibb says it seems like they're dying. You would think after Gibb left and then you don't see Tylee, you hear JJ's a zombie. If that were me, I don't care if I was in this little wackadoodle group, I would have probably called a welfare check, just being away from them. And I don't know, just a lot of red flags there. So September the 20th was JJ's last day at Kennedy Elementary. And Lori sends Zulema a text at 6:25 p.m. How are you? I feel like you may need some help. Zulema says they can't get to me, so they get to my kids, my grandkids too. Lori says, I'm trying to protect you all, missing you. Zulema says, thank you. We need it. I'm missing you all too. Lori says, girls on the run. And she must have attached a picture to that text because Zulema says, I love this picture. So the next day on September the 21st, that's the day of that Preparing a People conference or event. It's called Book of Mormon Evidence and a Universal Model of Science. So Lori texts Zulema at 9:12 a.m. on the 21st. I think I got my dates mixed up on this series of texts on the previous episode. I apologize. I'm not sure how that happened, but I'm going to do this again in the correct context. At 9:12 a.m. on the 21st, Lori texts Zulema, if anybody asks about me or where I moved, you can just say that I moved in with my brother in Queen Creek, especially those who seek my destruction. How are you today? And Zulema responds, I don't talk to anyone about you at all. Did you tell Jules that you moved? I'm going to meet with her when she gets back from China. She says, I'm okay. I slept in today so I could get rest. I needed it. I'm going to the temple and going to ask for protection and clarity. Zulema says, I was invaded with dark thoughts yesterday. Much better today. Thank you. Wait, who's seeking your destruction? And Lori says, lots of people, Serena and Christina in particular, my family and such. And Zulema says, that makes sense. Have you checked on Serena? I've been avoiding her and not answering her as I used to before so that I can create distance from her. I only keep in touch with Jules, and Lori says, me too. I haven't talked with anyone. And Zulema says, I think that's best that you stay in hiding. I'm staying quiet as if nothing is happening. And then Lori says, are you doing good? Is the Lord saying anything yet? And Zulema says, just preparing me. And then she does that Nephi 2 verse 10 something. And that verse says, for behold, the promises which we have obtained are promises unto us according to the flesh. Wherefore, as it has been shown unto me that many of our children shall perish in the flesh because of unbelief. Nevertheless, God will be merciful unto many, and our children shall be restored, that they may come to that which will give them true knowledge of their Redeemer. So Melanie Gibb told detectives in April of 2021 she didn't think there was any casting out sessions done while she was there. So the 22nd, the next day, this is the day JJ was last seen. And Lori responds to that last text by Zulema. I love it. It's so true. We're all here to do our missions. And we will. You are a true goddess of light. We will conquer the darkness. So at 10:46 a.m., I'm going to put this up on YouTube. The very last picture known of JJ is taken. He's sitting on the couch in the red pajamas. And unfortunately, these are the same pajamas that he was found in when his body was found on Chad's property. I just can't hardly even look at this picture. It's an odd picture. He's not posing. He's playing with a cup. It looks like maybe a string or something. I don't know. According to testimony at the preliminary hearing, Gibb said her, Chad, Alex, and David looked at some property not too far from Chad's house. And she said Chad was trying to encourage David to build on that land. And Gibb also noted that her boyfriend, David, is a general contractor. Now, what's interesting is David said Lori was there looking at the property. Gibb said she was not. And I'm curious if she was there, who was watching JJ? Because Alex was there. At this point, Melanie is not there. Curious to know who was there and who wasn't. So the same day, there's a string of text messages between Lori and Alex that concern investigators. At the time, they're still trying to figure out where the kids are. Lori texts Alex at 8:55 a.m. This is before this picture is taken. Hey, bub, go to LDS.org and watch the new Book of Mormon video. So good. Looks like you will appear in episode 2. And she puts a heart. And then at 8:56 a.m., Lori texts Alex, P.S., do you have any eggs? Eggs can be the street names for Valium or Xanax. I fully believe that maybe they drugged JJ at some point. At 9:48, Alex responds, I'm open. How about you? A minute later, Lori says, me too. They're still in the bedroom, so not sure what their plan is, but they should be up soon. Talking about Gibb and Warwick, I assume. At 10:21 a.m., Alex texts, okay, let me know. Do you want me to get eggs and bring them to you? At 12:11 p.m., Lori says, come on over. 12:14 p.m., Lori says, let's meet Chad at the terrestrial temple in 20 minutes. And Alex says, okay. At 12:18, Lori says to Alex, are you ready to go? 12:31, there's no response from Alex. Going now. Can you meet us there? Lori asks Alex right after that, how do I get there? 1:47 p.m. I still don't see any response from Alex in this. Should we take JJ to Bear World today? Are you still there? At 2:17, Lori says, are you coming home? Then at 3:07, Lori texts Alex 3 question marks. At 8:28 p.m., Lori to Alex, are you ever coming back? And it's Alex says, yes, just waiting on Teresa for a fresh ceiling. So we're getting close to the time now where the podcast, they say, was between 9 and midnight. It's after 8. Lori is nonstop. Like, where are you? And, so anyways, David Warwick said that while he was there, he tried to interact with JJ, but JJ just didn't acknowledge him. And it was like he wasn't there. Gibb said she saw him every day except for the day they left. Now, here's what's interesting to me. And I was doing a keyword search for September in the documents. So it says, was September, this is a text message from April 14th, 2019 between Zulema and Lori. Zulema says, was September 21st when you had your first visitation? Lori responds, sorry, I lost you girls. I had it on September 22nd. The same day Moroni met with Joseph every year for all those years before he got the plates. He first appeared to him on the 21st, but continued through the night to the 22nd. Then he always met with him on the 22nd. And Zulema responds, that completes the revelation and the prophecy. So I just think that that's really weird. And then you combine that with that passage that Zulema sends Lori. I don't know if more of that will come in later, but I just thought it was really strange. So David testified they were doing the podcast that evening with Gibb and Lori. So when he was asked about JJ's whereabouts during that time, he said he wasn't there. He was staying with Alex. So Detective Hermosillo was interviewing Gibb in Arizona after the kids were missing about a text Lori sent her regarding JJ around 8:30 p.m. that night, saying something to the effect of, hey, I'll be there shortly. JJ woke up and she said she was getting him back to sleep. So 8:30, if you look, she's saying, JJ woke up, I'm getting him back to sleep. We go back to that text by Alex at 8:28. Are you ever coming back? So we got the text that day about the eggs. And then at the same time, she texts Gibb. Essentially, she's texting Alex, are you coming back? So when asked where Lori was at the time she sent that text, Gibb said it didn't sound familiar, but maybe she was at Alex's apartment. And she said that would have been before they started the podcast. Gibb said that Alex brought JJ in during the middle of the podcast, which was between 9 and midnight. And JJ was asleep with his head on Alex's shoulder. And Warwick said he saw it as a tender moment. That was the last sighting of JJ by anybody other than Lori and Alex. And I'm not totally unconvinced that I think they probably drugged this poor baby. And he wasn't just simply asleep. So sometime overnight between the 22nd and the 23rd, we know that JJ is murdered. And the morning of the 23rd, Gibb and David were leaving Rexburg to go back to wherever they came from. So between 8 and 9 a.m., Lori told Melanie and David that JJ was being a zombie and was climbing on the shelves in the kitchen and climbed on the upper cabinets near the ceiling, knocked a picture of Jesus off the refrigerator. And David asked to see him, and Lori said he was out of control, so she had Alex come and get him. So David and Gibb leave about 9:30 a.m. And so I'm going to throw this just right back up on the screen for those of you who are on YouTube. This bottom left picture is that this is the actual apartment that they lived in while they were there. And you see those cabinets. It would have been impossible. And not that we believe it, but So what's interesting is this. So Melanie and David leave the townhouse about 9:30. So at 9:46 a.m., Lori texts Zulema back from the day before and says, you are powerful, little girl. I love it. At the same time, we assume Alex is taking JJ to Chad's to be buried because at 9:55 a.m., Alex's phone is pinged on Chad's property. He stays until 10:12, and the pings have him on the northern edge of the property near the pond. I'm going to throw this picture up. Credit to KSL and Visual Law Group for this 3D rendering, but you can see burial site for JJ as the pond. Burial site number 1 is JJ at the pond. And then you see burial site 2 there for Tylee, and then the fire pit. So Alex's phone was pinged in that general area. And if you remember from a few episodes prior, they're able to really accurately pinpoint where he was on that property. That's where, unfortunately, JJ's body would be found. Also on the 23rd, they found some pictures of ammunition taken from a gun shop. And in an email between investigators on February 3rd of 2020, back when they're still trying to figure out what's going on with the kids, one investigator said, I can tell you, Lori and Alex had a strange relationship. Around the day JJ disappeared, Alex was shopping for a coat for her. Weird. Yeah, it is weird. I love my brother. He would never shop for a coat for me, ever. I don't care if I was like in a tank top in January. He'd be like, nah, you good. I don't know what I'm doing. So David also said that regarding JJ climbing up onto the upper cabinets, he said, I'm looking at the cabinets. I saw absolutely no sign of damage of any kind, not even a scuff. And Keith Morrison asked David, so you knew right away she was lying to you? And David said, yeah. So I said, I would like to see JJ. I wanted to see him. She said he was out of control and Alex had to come in and get him. So again, that red flag of there's no way this kid climbed up there and you don't see him. That doesn't, ring a bell. So also on this day, JJ's school was in the process of creating a new IEP for him, and he had an unexcused absence on the 23rd. The same day, Chad emailed that filmmaker that we talked about several episodes ago and just said, thanks so much. And we know that was the last time that they would hear from him. So we're going to stop here. We'll pick back up on September 24th, which would have been Tylee's 17th birthday. We're going to get into some text messages that were sent from Tylee's phone to family members and go from there. So anyways, really appreciate you guys. Hope you have a good rest of your day. We will see you soon.
New on Curiosity Stream.
I'm James Burke. I'm going to take you on a journey through time.
James Burke's visionary series returns, reimagined for our time.
Now, this is all uncharted territory.
The Washington Post hails Burke as one of the most intriguing minds in the Western world. The New York Times raves he careens from one great moment in history to another.
Where do we want to go from here?
Experience all new connections.
So what's the next connection?
With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at CuriosityStream.com.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.